Even though Sergio Perez said that Perez's future is secure for 2024 and that he is not required to finish P2, he has faced criticism for his performance in Formula 1. Do you know what concerns Sergio Perez has raised about his performance? Are you curious about the machinery used by Perez in 2023? In this video, we will discuss a hot topic that can quickly unveil the story behind all this. Without further delay, let's begin. Since the Red Bull will be receiving a lot of negative feedback from the Mexican community this week, there's a good likelihood that there are some unspoken ideas underlying this statement. Perez faces a growing likelihood of losing his seat as early as 2024 due to these conditions, along with a growing lack of competition from Hamilton and Russell. Sergio Perez of the Austrian club has had a roller coaster of a season in 2023, but for the most part, he was on the uphill of things, or more specifically, fighting to make his vehicle perform following her most recent statement, which launched a significant jab at the 33-year-old stay. For instance, he won 2 of the first 4 races and was only able to maintain the lead over Van on 6 points until the Miami Grand Prix, where, as we all saw, Perez was severely embarrassed by Vastin, who won after starting from position 9 and taking the lead before half of the race had even ended. Following this race, Perez missed qualifying for the 3rd round 5 more times in a row, only once in Austria, and while this has undoubtedly cast doubt on his ability to stay in the Formula 1 race, the fact that the other drivers on the grid, aside from Max Verstappen, were equally as erratic as he was allowed him to maintain the P2 position, but as everyone began to realize what was wrong with their vehicles and as Hamilton and Norris, Piastri started competing with Perez in the race, the Mexican driver's position became much more precarious. The current point differential between him and Hamilton is 39. If Hamilton had not been disqualified, the British would have had a legitimate opportunity to overtake him as early as in Mexico, as there would have only been 19 points separating him from the Rebel driver. Nevertheless, Mercedes issued a solid warning for Red Bull, stating that the increased pace in Austin is not a one-race wonder and has nothing to do with how the car will perform in Mexico. Hamilton, on the other hand, is overjoyed with the improvements and regrets not being able to help his team win at P2. Falling short of Verstappen by only 2 seconds, everything is up for grabs. In further detail, Mercedes technical director James Allison stated that the team has 4 very different races coming up. The first is in Mexico, where the car will be driven on a high altitude, thin air track with asphalt that is quite different from the tracks we've recently been at, as long as we can keep the car cool. Since Allison was the only one to mention this, I believe that in the thin air of the Mexico track, things will flow rather well. The turns will work to our advantage, and the car's speed should be decent. Regarding Ven's chances in Mexico, I suppose the statement could have been interpreted as overly hopeful following the Austin Grand Prix and the acceleration that was shown there. He didn't hold back when it came to speaking his mind because, aside from the alcohol, he would have to endure fighting the course in his car. After all, it didn't fit him the way he would have liked it to. He stated, "I don't think the circuit is ideal for us if you're looking at how our car handles this year. There are some slow corners and some curbstones that our vehicle struggles with. I anticipate a lot of competition, especially after a close lap that is roughly the length of the race. I'm not sure, but generally speaking, our race speed is good. Since cars change a lot from year to year, so do the cars' characteristics and behaviors. Just because we've been fast in the past doesn't guarantee that we will be this year too. We shouldn't expect his teammate to perform any better in this scenario if he struggles during a particular circuit again. Given how well Perez has handled pressure this season, it's reasonable to assume that Perez won't have many opportunities to demonstrate his worth for the Red Bull seat. There is now something that, although intended to safeguard Perez's future, has caused some people to wonder about its future. That only made people wonder how long Sergio will be working for Red Bull, according to Christian Horner. Regardless of where he finishes, Horner has declared that the 33-year-old is not in danger of losing his seat. However, as you may recall, Marco already stated that he would prefer not to talk about Perez's future before the Mexican Grand Prix. It might seem strange to elaborate further on this issue if the Red Bull special advisor believed that the team might choose a different driver before 2024 and her statement was made public just a few days before the Mexican Grand Prix. This year, with Max and Checo, we finished first and third in a championship. However, we have never finished first and second before. With this car, it will be ideal for a season in which we have had to finish first and second. Horner stated that there is no precedent like this. However, no requirement in Checo stipulates finishing second or 4 times the right to drive the car the following year. This was never mentioned a few weeks prior. Even a few weeks prior, Horner and Marcos said that the team needed to finish 1 and 2 in such a strong season and that they would be content with nothing less. Now it appears that Horner contradicted himself with his most recent statement, and there is one thing he said that raised our eyebrows even though we all knew it before he even said it: the future of Perez beyond 2024 talking about this matter. Horner stated that Perez is in crisis and the team needs to have a serious talk about his performance. Horner apologized for not having more faith in him, but he said, "We're certainly not short of options for 2025. Of course, we've got plenty of time to look and evaluate that, but there are so many factors involved with that." This was pretty much all they had to say about Dev's future with the team and Ricciardo's strong performance with Red Bull during the tire test in Silverstone. The fact that the drivers of Mercedes and McLaren are both finishing well up in the points and the fact that the remainder of the grid below Verstappen has been ramping up the pace fairly steadily are 2 reasons they might be looking toward this scenario sooner rather than later. Did you know what you think the Rebel team will fare in the strictly regulated era they have entered? The last thing the Rebel would want in such a strictly regulated era that they entered as the most dominant team is to be challenged before 2026. As things stand, challenges will also come their way in the remaining months of 2023. Additionally, even though Vapin does not feel threatened in the slightest, Perez's safety and security when discussing a potential victory in Mexico are not guaranteed. Hamilton had a great deal of optimism that he would be able to catch up to Perez in both Mexico and Brazil. "We have made progress, but over the next 4 races, I can't tell which one will see us get closer or which one we might be farther away from." As he further explained, "I think it's always hard to say, hey, it's going to be good here, it's going to be good there. We were quite close here last year, so maybe this weekend we can get a little bit closer and put in enough work. If we work out the plan this weekend, we might be able to take the battle to them." If so, do you believe that this will be the best course of action for Red Bull? Do you think the company will buy Perez out of his contract? Share your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time!